Hello, I am Carolina, and I would like to welcome you to Holy Trinity College from Mar del Plata, Argentina. We are a group of students that participate in the model of the United Nations, and we've been researching on your Peace One Day project, and it really motivated us to get to know your experience. So if you could tell us a little bit briefly.
Okay, great. Well, I mean, you've seen the film. 17 years ago, had this idea to create a day of peace, and of course that happened, and then we did the work that we did in Afghanistan, which showed that the day could really work, and now, of course, we are working to get as many people involved as we possibly can, all over the world, to mark the day. So there are three things that we do. We measure exposure, how many people we can expose to the fact that 21st of September is a day of peace. We measure awareness, how many people are involved on the day, people like yourselves, and then we measure the impact that that has. So what's the behavioural change around that? I.e., is there a decrease of violence? And the answer is yes. If you look at the reports, the McKinsey reports on our website, you'll see that laid out. What I've just mentioned to you about exposure, awareness, and behavioural change, you will see laid out. This day of peace inspires and empowers people, but it also reduces violence. We see a decrease of bullying in schools, etc., when young people engage in this day through their art, their poetry, their literature, their music, because they're thinking differently about each other. So the reason why it's so important to speak to you all is that, it'd be amazing if you could tell everyone at Holy Trinity College, to mark the day on the 21st of September. Please make sure that you're talking about it on Facebook. Tell your friends to join our Facebook, to follow at Jeremy Gilly Twitter, so that you can find out more information as it's happening. There's some really important things that you can do. I mean, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think 8 people, maybe somebody at the back there, 9, whatever. There's maybe 10 people more in the room. But the impact that you can have is really rather incredible. So please, make sure you tell people about the day, invite them to becoming involved on the day. That's what we want to see happen. So yeah, that's a bit of an update. Do you guys have any questions?
Hi.
Hiya.
I'm Martina. And did you ever, throughout the project, did you ever think it would fail? And what motivated you to keep going?
Yeah, I guess I did think that it could fail at times, but failure is not a problem. I think that failure is really interesting. When I fail, I learn most about myself. There's no question about that. And actually, when I fail, I learn how to sort of re-strategize and focus my efforts to manifest success. So that's failure to me. Can have some kind of negative connotations to it, but actually it can be really, really very positive. You know that from your exams, you know that from running races or swimming or whatever it is that you personally do. When you fail, you will find yourself really becoming richer as a consequence. I think that's what wisdom is. I think wisdom is the fact that we've had so many failures and learn from those failures that we become wise. So I've got no issue with failing. I've got no issue with anybody saying no. I think those are all opportunities to learn more about ourselves and what we're trying to achieve.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. May I ask the second question? Did you know what you were getting into and what you had to leave behind in order to carry out this project?
No, I definitely didn't know what I was getting into. But, they say if I'd have known what I was getting into, I probably wouldn't have done it. But actually, in this situation, it's not true. What I've got into has been, immensely rewarding. It's been very difficult. I've made mistakes. But, as we were talking earlier, those mistakes, those failures are actually ultimately what makes us the person that we truly want to become. Life's not an easy journey, and you're forever learning all the way till your journey ends. I mean, and I think if you're not seeing it that way, then you're missing an opportunity. I mean, we're not learning just when we're at school or university. We're learning throughout our entire lives, and I think we need to be open to that. And I certainly want to make sure that I am open to learning every day. I've just had the most incredible encounter with sort of the leading authorities on domestic abuse, with one of the most successful policemen from this country who deals with this issue. The things I've just learned from him in that room are just extraordinary. It's I think we've got to keep on learning, but I love the journey. I mean, I'm sure the things that you've done where it went wrong, you wouldn't go, okay, well, I wish I could turn the clock back, because it doesn't. Life's actually about success. Life's about failure. Life's about things going right and things going wrong. I was with a lady called Baroness Scotland. I do a lot of work with her with Reducing Domestic Violence campaign. She's a QC, an amazing woman, and an authority on domestic and sexual violence. And she was saying to me the other day, it's when things get really, really bad, Jeremy, for you or for anyone, when they get really bad, it's generally when you are learning most and becoming richer as a consequence of it. Look at the great poetry, look at the great art, look at the great music, look at the great literature. That's what I think life's about. It's about embracing it all and it being tough. Life is tough, but that doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't, climb the mountain. We've got to go for it.
Huh. Thank you so much.
Cool, man.
Hi.
Hi.
How did you manage to get your ideas in the UN, and did you find any difficulties in this organization?
It was really hard work. The early stages was a lot of hard work. It was a hell of a lot of letter writing. We had to write a lot of letters, and we had to write those letters really well. So we had to focus on them. The strategy of the letter had to be good. The grammar had to be good. The spelling had to be good. I sort of say those things because I don't have any qualifications. I'm dyslexic, and so writing good letters was a very difficult thing for me. Just because I can't write very well. But I've now written hundreds of thousands of letters over the last 17 years, and I probably write quite well. So that old saying, "Practice makes perfect," is probably true. So I think that penetrating the United Nations or indeed large corporations or major NGOs or faiths. It's about persistence. Every great climb is only achieved because people are persistent. And that from your personal life. If you can't give up. If there's something that you've got to do, you've got to do it. And just keep on going, and great things come from it.
Thank you.
Hello, Jeremy.
Hello, sir.
My question comes to your future plans about other countries apart from Afghanistan.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working all over the world. We did a lot of work in Afghanistan. Today I've just flown through the night. Just a couple of hours ago, got back from Rwanda. We've been spending a lot of time in Africa, a lot of time in the Great Lakes region of Africa. Last week, in Norway, next week in Ethiopia. I'm moving around the world all the time. I obviously know Buenos Aires and spent some good time there. Spent a lot of time in Brazil, in Colombia, North America, all over Europe. I've visited about 120 countries in the last 17 years. So we're forever traveling, but the team are operating very globally. There are things going on the Day of Peace, all over the world, pretty much every country of the world. So, the beauty of technology here, you're in Buenos Aires, I'm in the UK, we're having this communication, it's incredible. So using technology is very important. It's bringing us closer. It's making interaction much simpler. I mean, yes, okay, I can't, shake your hand, but ultimately we're looking right at each other. I mean, we have a connection now, and we're talking about this day, and that's amazing. So technology also helps me to, build bridges and build relationships.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, mate.
Hello.
Hello.
You've mentioned about this a while ago. My question was, how do you think this project could be carried out in order to reduce domestic violence?
Well, I mean, it's great that you asked that question, given the meeting that I've just had. I think that listen. The issue of domestic violence, domestic abuse, by the way, people are wanting to use the word abuse more. We are about to change all of our language on the website to use the words domestic abuse rather than domestic violence, because abuse is more encompassing of all forms of violence, be they physical or mental. Because of course, what's happening, a lot of abuse is very verbal. And therefore, we're going to change our phrasing to domestic abuse rather than domestic violence. So that said, how do I think it helps? Well, this is a very tricky issue to talk about. Because if you look at the facts, 98% of the violence that happens in the world happens in our homes, communities and schools. 98%. 2% is happening through terrorism and war. That's astonishing. That's an astonishing statistic. So the real war that humanity faces is the one in our homes, communities and schools, whether in the first world or the third world. In fact, the idea of saying first or third world is ridiculous in my opinion. It's the world. And the issues of domestic community violence, school violence, is in every country, no matter how rich or poor, how advanced. It's everywhere. And I think that raising awareness of these issues gets us talking and it gets us thinking. And that's really important. And awareness of these issues means that somebody may well be at school and on that day of peace, they hear about these issues or they hear people talking about peace, and that gives them a window of opportunity to reach out for help or perhaps tell somebody what they're going through. So awareness of domestic violence, domestic abuse issues creates opportunities for people to find out information. Sometimes that information might be of an organization who helps people, and because they found out that information, they can then ring them, and because they ring them, it can effectively save their life because they're then out of a situation that they might have stayed in. So I think it's just very important that we as friends, schools, workplaces, I think it's really important that we talk about these sensitive issues. What are we going through? How are we feeling? Is everyone in the classroom okay? Is there anyone who's feeling left out? I mean, we've got to reach out to our friends and those around us and our families and make peace. And that has a profound effect, a serious effect on people's lives and the happiness that they feel.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hiya.
Well, what you were talking about here in Argentina, we're doing a lot of protests against violence in women, like men that treat badly their wives. So we're very interested in the topic also, and we think this day could bring a great impact on this protest. We could include that. Also, in our UN workshop, we're working with soldier kids. And I think that this day has such an impact on the world. Do you think that in the next 21st of September, maybe in African countries, soldier kids could be rescued and taken to refugee camps and be
Yeah, I think those kinds of things. Sorry, the line technically went a bit strange there, but I did get to the end of your question. I think most definitely this day we are seeing organisations like UNHCR, for example, who are dealing with refugees, very active around this day, repatriating people who are going back to their homes. There are well over 1,000 NGOs who all have different missions. Some of those missions will be to do with children, some of them to do with women, some of them to do with water, some of them to do with food, some of them to do with the environment, some of them to do with animals, whatever it might be. We are seeing massive numbers of organisations who do what it is they do and then carry that activity out on the 21st of September. So Peace One Day is a messenger to getting information out about this day, and then whoever receives that information then does something, like you. Your school has found out about Peace Day, you've communicated with us, you've joined the school's network, and we've now got this dialogue. What I hope is going to happen is really get people to go to the Peace One Day Facebook, follow on Twitter, plan your activity, tell all of your friends through social media to do something about on the 21st. It doesn't matter how big or small somebody's action is on the 21st. Even if they just brought their family together, even if they just did something for themselves, that's what this day's about. It's about every one of us being involved in the peace process and thinking about those things, because that changes our behaviour. It inspires us, it empowers us to know that we're all standing as one in this world, which we've never done in our history, is something that you, the youth, the new generation, must keep driving. Drive it forward. Let's bring our families together. Let's bring our communities together. Let's bring our countries together. No matter what our politics or what our colour or what our religion, we have got to come together as one, because that's going to be an important step towards the kind of world we want to live in.
Yeah, that's amazing. Hello.
Hiya.
So when we got started talking about peace one day, I thought about it in I guess a more political way, and I was wondering how the eventual creation of an army of the UN itself would impact the fulfillment of peace at a worldwide level.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, listen, I can't speak on behalf of the United Nations. I'd love to. I'd love to, man. I mean, the UN is an awesome operation. I've worked with the United Nations now for 17 years, and I really respect it. And the United Nations is only as powerful as the member states allow it to be. I think there's sometimes people get confused, of course not yourself, but sometimes on my journey, I've heard people criticize the United Nations and the men and women that work very hard within it. And I think that sometimes people don't understand that those men and women are only can only be as productive as the member states, the people who pay them to be. So my experience with the UN has been one which is just incredible. I think it's the closest thing that we have to holding the global community together. I genuinely think the UN and that one room, the General Assembly, is the closest thing that we have to holding the world together. And on a personal level, I want to do everything that I can to support it. The UN's journey is massive. I mean, the reason why planes don't hit each other is because the UN have a role. The reason why post, is sent from London and arrives in Buenos Aires is because they have a role. The reasons why the seas are as safe as they are is because of their interaction with it. So the UN plays a massive role in our everyday lives in ways that many people don't know, and I love it for that reason. I think it's really extraordinary. I think their peacekeeping forces, is something that the United Nations have decided that they need, in order to, keep the peace, manifest peace, and obviously that's a very complex and difficult and sensitive issue, and obviously there are incredible men and women in the UN who can answer your question much better than me. But I think there are great challenges that we face, and the UN has a great challenge to face. And peacekeeping troops is a contentious issue, a very contentious issue, and one that must be, when you're the Secretary General of the UN, very hard to manage. But I think on the whole they're doing an incredible job, and I'm really glad that they're there for us all in the ways that they are. And I think that, 98% of the violence that happens in our homes, communities, and schools. I mean, for me, I want to really redefine the meaning of peace. I mean, peace is something that we can all play a role in. I mean, I know the UN's important and governments are important, but actually the bulk of the violence that you and me can have an impact on is what's around us now. And that's really interesting and very empowering for us, that we can really make a difference in our families and our homes and our communities. And that, as a consequence of that, somebody isn't bullied, or somebody isn't hurt, or somebody isn't spoken to, or in an incorrect manner. You know what I mean? Those are the sorts of things that we can really, keep on a personal level working towards. I mean, I know I've sometimes, the stress gets you, life is difficult, the journey is hard. Your friend's saying, have you ever given up? Yeah, I mean, I find it really difficult at times, and sometimes you just can't, be polite all the time. I think it's a challenge for each and every one of us to be as peaceful as we possibly can, and I think Peace Day is a great opportunity to think about those things.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hello.
We wanted to ask you, what could we do in order to help and collaborate with Peace One Day organization?
Well, I think what's really key, the Holy Trinity College, I mean, just doing something on that day, number one, doing something with art. I mean, look at the website, One Day, One Goal, One Day, One Dance, Set for Peace, running, cycling, swimming, singing, dancing, I mean, writing, poetry, art, filmmaking, an assembly. I mean, there are so many ways that you guys can all come together as one on the 21st of September and do something really profound and tell as many people as you can. And the other colleges that you know of, where young people who are in other colleges, reach out to them and ask that college to do the same. You'll be amazed at how many people you can unite and bring together as a consequence of your actions. It really is phenomenal. Because of technology and because of how networked we all are, there is an opportunity for you guys to make a massive impact for peace on the day by planning now. Following on Twitter is important. Joining the Facebook is important. But doing your own activities, that's saying, who will you make peace with? It's beautiful. Who will you make peace with? Is there, this is on the sort of, in many ways, seems to be like the most simple thing, but it's so profound and so meaningful for you for the rest of your life, that if there is somebody that you've fallen out with, just ring them up, meet them, say sorry, bring something together, and use Peace Day as an opportunity to do that. But ultimately, tell as many people as you can about the day. We have to raise awareness of this day. And I know that Holy Trinity College will do a great job in that. And good luck for your celebrations. I hope they go really well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Cool, man.
I have one last question.
Okay.
You mentioned before that you travel a lot, so maybe one day you are here and the next week you have to travel to a different place in the world. So does that affect your personal life?
Yes, it does affect my personal life. I don't have a personal life. I wish I did. No, it does affect my personal life, and but I've got a beautiful little girl, and I see her all the time, and I'm really there for her, and I'm very focused on her, and that's kind of everything to me. And I have a personal life. I stop at weekends. I get on my wakeboard. I'm a wakeboard. I wakeboard. I've always been a wakeboarder. I love, I just love being on the water and finding peace in the water. And so, I have a personal life. I mean, we're busy, but I'd like to be busy. I'd rather be busy than bored.
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
We loved meeting you, and we're looking forward to celebrate our peace one day here.
Cool.
And we wish you a lot of luck on your celebration as well.
All right. Well, thank you very much. It's been lovely talking to you, and see you later.